Now we're going through the chapter of ما يعفى عنه من الأنجاس. So the types of najasa that if they come onto the clothing, they are excused. Surah number 4. ولو ابتلى فراش أو تراب نجسان من عرق نائم أو بلل قدم وظهر أثر النجاسة في البدن والقدم تنجس وإلا فلا. So the author is saying that if a bed or the ground, it was stained by najasa, it was affected by najasa, it becomes wet because of the sweat of someone who perhaps slept on it, rested on it, or because of one's feet. Right? They were wet and they touched the soil, and as a result, the trace of that najasa, that filth, it came onto the body or feet. Then both are regarded as impure. They will be both considered as impure. Tanajjasa. They will be both regarded as impure. And if the trace of najasa, impurity, doesn't appear, it doesn't manifest itself on the body or feet, then they are not regarded as impure. So, just to explain over here, the traces of najasa, color, smell, taste. Right? These are this is how one can tell what is impure. For example, if the mattress of the bed a person is sleeping on, if there is urine on it and it became wet as because of that urine, and the sweat of a person slept on it, and because of that sweat, that area became wet, then it's considered as impure. Right? If that najasa, it comes onto the body or it comes onto the clothing. So this is number 4. Number 5. كما لا يتنجس ثوب جاف طاهر لف في ثوب نجس رطب لا ينعصر الرطب لو عصر. So saying over here, similarly, there's a dry clean cloth, and that doesn't become impure if it's wrapped in a filthy damp cloth, a najis damp cloth, which doesn't drip when you squeeze it. Right? So the dry cloth, it will remain clean. The dry cloth remains clean. And ولا يتنجس ثوب رطب بنشر على أرض نجسة يابسة فتندت منه. So it's saying over here, a wet cloth does not become impure if it's you spread it out on dry, unclean ground. Right? So, for example, someone urinated and then it became dry, right? And the earth has become damp through the wetness of the cloth. So that wet cloth doesn't become impure if it's spread on dry, unclean soil. And this is what the author is writing over here. And so if someone urinated and an hour later it dries up, then someone comes and spreads out a sheet, right, a bed sheet or something, and that bed sheet is wet, then as a result the ground becomes wet because of that bed sheet. So the bed sheet will remain pure unless najasa comes on to that bed sheet. Unless najasa or the traces of najasa, it comes onto the bed sheet. ولا بريح هبت على نجاسة فأصابت الثوب إلا أن يظهر أثرها فيه. So the author is saying that moving along, that a cloth doesn't become impure if it has been struck by wind that has blown over some filth. So if wind has blown over some filth, then that cloth doesn't become impure as a result of that. Unless, again, that najasa becomes visible on the clothing. So if the najasa becomes visible on the clothing, only then will that cloth be considered as impure. Right? And then that is when you will have to wash. So this completes this section, the subchapter مَا يُعْفَى عَنْهُ مِنَ الْأَنْجَاسِ. Just going through the beginning, وَعُفِيًا قَدْرِ الدِّرْهَمْ مِنَ الْمُغَلَّبَةِ, that regarding heavy filth, heavy najasa, the size of a dirham is excused. Number 2, مَا رُبْءِ الثَّوْبِ أَوِ الْبَدَنِ مِنَ الْمُخَفَّفَةِ, and light filth, light najasa which has afflicted less than 1/4 of one's dress or body, that is going to be excused. وَعُفِيًا رَشَاشِ بَوْلٍ كَرُؤُسِ الْإِبِلِ, and likewise, if there's droplets of urine, such as that of the head of a pin, that too are excused. And we went over number 4, 5, 6, and 7. Inshallah, we'll continue next week. طهارة المتنجس. Any questions?